here on Rated G.
Kasama Collective is not just a Filipino organization. Like we are like an inclusive Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander organization that aims to uplift those communities. And they were like, "Well, you don't need to fit into a space. The space needs to fit you." And I was like, "Holy shit, that's totally right!" And it's like one of those where it's like you are totally invited and encouraged to take up space at any market as a creator. Like that moment was kind of like what made me realize like, oh, I need to be what heals me and what makes me feel more like myself is servicing my community, is uplifting parts of myself and parts of my community.
What is up, everyone? Welcome to another special edition to the Rated G podcast. I'm your host, G. Terado. For those of you who have been here before, welcome back and thank you for your continued support. And everybody else who is new here, welcome to the show. Here on the podcast, I like to have sit-downs with other local artists, and we just engage on in-depth conversations about our craft and why we do it, and we also just talk about our overall outlook on life. And so while doing that, I try to help promote their brand, their business, whatever it is that they're working on. And if you enjoy this type of content, please be sure to like, follow, subscribe, share, comment, all that good jazz to help out with the algorithm. And be sure to check out the links in the show description, where I'll be sharing all of our social media links. That way you can follow our work and everything else going outside the podcast. And most likely we'll be checking this on YouTube because I'm having weird audio issues. But be sure to ring the notification bell. That way you can keep up with all the current uploads. And let's go! Joining me for the first time is a friend that and fellow Filipina that I met at a local market that was uplifting the Filipino, Asian, Pacific Islander community. And it was like a last minute gig that I was very fortunate to be a part of. It was just really nice to be surrounded by like my people because it's been a long time. So there was like that bit of like it felt like home again, like my childhood. But yes, she is a visual artist and co-founder of Kasama Collective. She's also an art director. So please welcome for the first time, Roxanne Atienza. Did I say that right? I never confirmed.
Yes, you did. No, it's funny because people, you did say it right. You said it. Atienza is perfectly
Okay.
right. Yeah, it's because a lot of people like tend to hear my last name, which is like it's pronounced exactly like it's spelled, but people will always go like Atienza or Atienza, and I'm like, you're making it too hard for yourself. And
So they're probably
it's that
trying not to
thing.
overdo the like word, the pronunciation, right? Sounding out every syllable or vowel. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it's kind of like it's like I feel like people in our community, everybody has like their name butchering story, and like that's definitely like part of my villain origin story is just like teachers in school just like there's like a level of trauma that like it's kind of it's humiliation is like when you're a kid and like you're at roll call, and of course like since my last name's an A, it's at the beginning of the roster, and like a teacher would just be like, oh, Timmy Smith, Jordan Peterson, Roxanne Atienza, and it's just like, kids don't know any better, so they when they see that, they just think to laugh, and then like when people laugh at your name, you start internalizing it like, oh, something's wrong with me,
No, they just don't
something's
know
funny.
any better.
Exactly, and they just
I've dealt
don't
with
know
that
any
my
better.
whole life as well. I mean,
Yeah.
it's essentially why I go by G. My parents have all like they actually started calling me G, but
Mhm.
just everybody else butchering my name, I was just like, all right, I'll
Yeah.
just stick with G, because they
Yeah.
fuck up the last name Terado, but they'll always say Terado. And then
Yes.
my first name, which I don't really like to share out loud, but just because we're talking about our names, it's Gerald. And people always call me, they've always called me Gerard. And I'm like, where do you see the
Oh,
goddamn the second R? It's like right there. Like it
right.
happened at the dentist yesterday. But I'm just like,
Oh,
or they just like would call me Jerry or just
yeah.
the girls in my class, they would just say in such a obnoxious way where I'm like, all right,
Yeah.
go by G.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. It's like the government name. It's like, yeah, it's just like, because names are important. It's like,
yeah,
if I give you a name, call me, that is how I want to identify it as, and that is that like it's important and powerful, and it gives you your identity. So
I agree.
yeah,
Yeah. But well, it's like if you can like nip that in the butt from the get-go, but sometimes like we just kind of go with it or laugh along with it. But yeah,
yeah.
I see
Just
where
because
you're
back in
coming
the
from.
day,
Like,
especially because like back in the day, like there wasn't really like that level of like especially if you grow up in like if you grow up in a predominantly white area, or like you're all everybody wants to fit in, right? Everybody, it's a form of survival is fitting in. And so there wasn't like, I think kids, again, with them being so young and not knowing any better, a lot of them just don't have any agency to like correct. Like I didn't have a lot of courage or confidence to correct teachers or my classmates. And now you wouldn't think twice. Like now it's just so easy to be like, can you tell me how to pronounce your name? Like if you can be
yeah,
polite about it, you can be like, because like there are names that I can't pronounce, but it's like you just have to put in the effort of being like, I'm sorry, can you please tell me how to pronounce your name? I just want to get it right because I care,
yeah,
like
yeah.
yeah,
I
but back
mean,
then,
yeah, I totally get it. I mean, sometimes like I guess like who knows? Like they
yeah.
probably just look at it and think it's like as simple as they think it is, and then it's just like, nah, it's you got like I would appreciate it if you would enunciate it this way. But
Yeah, exactly.
humans,
Some people though, some people really do like want to be assholes and really do want to like
well, that's
maybe
what I was
want to
saying
make
about the girls in my class. They'll be like Gerald, and I'm like, ugh.
yeah, like
Like
like that. Like
I don't even
you
like
don't
my
feel
name.
like, yeah. I like the name Gerald. I think
Yeah,
that's really
well,
cute. That's really
but when you grow up and like just people like it's just like with your
yeah.
name, right? Just like over the years of people just botching your name on purpose or like by
On
innocence. Like,
purpose. That's the one that really sticks with you, is like the intentional harm that people do, like by like trying to be they think they're being funny, but it's like you're actually causing me a lot of harm right now. You're gonna cause
yeah,
like years of identity crisis that I'm gonna have to unpack like decades later.
yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. I I guess it's just like it depends, right? Because I don't know, some people kind of like I don't know. It seems like it's just very
Yeah.
compassionate about the name. But I get it, but it's just
Uh-huh.
like at the same time, I'm just like, like if it's people that you care about that you want them to address you uh, correctly, like I can see like that being an issue. But if it's like just randos, just a bunch of people like you don't like you're not gonna get to know or anything, it's like who gives a shit? Just like
Right.
if
Yeah.
they're too ignorant to learn your name correctly, like that just shows their character. Like it has nothing to do
Exactly.
with like you. It's just like it's just them. They're
Exactly.
hurt people, and when it comes down to it, too.
Yeah, exactly. That's like
Yeah,
absolutely it. It's just kind of like it's like one of those things where you gotta like pick your battles, because it's like you can do all the work and all like the emotional like labor, and there's always gonna be people out there who just want to be an asshole. And like you said, that has nothing to do with you. It has everything. It
yeah,
tells you everything you need to know about that person, right? It
yeah,
tells you that they're still healing, that they're still hurting, and that they still have a long journey.
yeah. Did you grow up in the 90s or in like the 2000s?
Oh, I grew up, yeah, I'm a 90s kid. I'm an OG
Okay,
90s kid. Yeah,
nice.
I definitely grew up in the 90s. I remember the
Early
butterfly
90s
clips,
or like
and
late 90s?
So my oldest sisters, they were early 90s. I'm a baby. I'm a late 90s kid. I was born in 88. So I by the time I was growing
Okay,
up, I was like, yeah, I was definitely of the Y2K generation. My very first CD, I think, was Mariah Carey's it was either the Glitter album or the Rainbow album. Maybe those are
nice.
the two, those are the same. But yeah, definitely a kid of like the peak 90s, early 2000s fashion. Like that was my era. And
Yeah,
of course, I grew up listening to like Gen 1 K-pop too, and like imported music from like China and Japan and the Philippines. And so
yeah.
I was like absorbing all of this content like imported from Asia of the Y2K generation. And it was all about like oversized pants and like um how do you describe it? It was like it was like holographic fabrics, like
Yeah.
do you
Yeah,
remember what
it
I'm
was
talking
like that
about?
windbreaker almost type of
The
material.
windbreaker material,
Yeah.
like the I'm like thinking specifically
You
about
think of
like
the UFO pants? Those
yeah, like the like or
had the
like do you
straps.
remember like that music video with Michael Jackson and Janet Jackson where
Oh,
they're
okay.
like
Yeah,
yeah, I'm
they're in the
thinking of
spaceship.
that era type of
Oh
clothing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's like later 90s, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's what's
That
up.
was my era.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
just like yeah, you're a couple years younger than me. I was just trying, yeah,
Yeah.
like to see like I've been meeting a lot of people like in that same sort of generation. I mean,
hmm
you're what do you call it? You're a millennial like myself.
I'm a true millennial. Yeah. I'm like middle millennial. Because I
Yeah.
did grow up with dial-up. I remember AOL and the
Oh yeah.
little sound effect and like
Dial up.
devastation. Yeah, I remember like pranking my sisters, or I wasn't pranking them. I was being a little brat because like sometimes my sisters would be online and they would be like doing a little chat with a boy, and I would be like, I'd be like the bratty little sister, like lift up the phone so that it immediately disconnects them, and they have no way of contacting them again, and I'd be like, ha, 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 ha. I was a major brat.
That's funny.
Yeah,
Where
yeah.
like uh in that group chat for Kasama Collective, like I
hmm
saw like at least a few people that responded, but it seemed like a lot of people didn't necessarily grow up in like a heavily like Filipino populated community or neighborhood.
hmm
Is that true? Is that the case? I mean,
Yeah. Well, I think, so Kasama Collective, it's not just a Filipino organization. Like we are like an inclusive Asian American, Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islander organization that aims to uplift those communities. It just so happens that like Richmond, Virginia happens to have a very large Filipino population and Filipino American population. And part of that is because a lot of us are transplants from Virginia Beach, which
okay.
has one of the, I think if I'm not mistaken, I think it has one of the largest and most established Filipino populations along the East Coast. Um, it's not too dense, but it is very like it's very well established. Like it's been
Okay.
there for a very long time. And even here in Richmond, we have the Filipino American Association of Central Virginia, which I believe just celebrated 50 years in Richmond. So that community has been establishing, but Richmond also has a very rich like Vietnamese American population here, as well as Korean American.
Yeah.
And we're really here, like Kasama is our mission is to foster a stronger Asian American community, Asian, Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islander community that really shows up for each other, because there's a lot of like talented Asian and Pacific Islander and Native Hawaiian creators out there, and they really deserve a platform. And that's kind of why Aubrielle and I created Kasama, as we sensed like a gap and a loneliness there, where we did have like these great organizations like Filipino American Association of Central Virginia, like the Asian American Society, but I think we were trying to do something that we hadn't seen before, and we were looking towards like communities like the Bay Area, or Maryland also has a really strong like Asian American Asian night market. Also Nova in DC, LA was a good community that we were drawing inspiration from. We were kind of just seeing these like really active populations coming together to celebrate culture and tradition, and we really wanted to bring that here. So yeah, so in regards to people in that group chat, we did there were a lot of like Filipino American creators, and that was because like the event was for Atos Sisig, and Atos he's a Filipino. He migrated here from the Philippines, and so it did kind of feel like a Filipino cookout. Like at the event itself, it felt like a Filipino cookout, and it just so happened that there happened to be a lot of like Filipino creators that we had as vendors and on our group chat.
Yeah. Yeah, it was awesome seeing it again. Just a lot of because like like growing up, my parents used to always take me to like the Filipino parties in the neighborhood. It was almost like because not it like it had our neighborhood had like a good Filipino population, but it was just funny, like all our parents knew each other. Like we used to say it was almost like an underground thing. Like, the parties that I've attended, the parents are in the basement playing mahjong till like
Oh
4 in the
yeah.
morning, just smells like beer and cigarettes. And me and my buddy,
Cigarettes in the garage.
yeah, well, yeah, either the garage. In my case, it was always in the basement. And,
Mhm.
yeah, it's just like a lot of, that's a lot of like a good portion of my childhood. But, um, what was I gonna say? Um, yeah, it was just really cool again to see all the vendors. Um, and yeah, I was really lucky I mean, I gotta shout out Sasha because she was one of the vendors and she gave me a heads up about that slot opening up. So
I
I was like,
love Sasha.
yeah, she's
Sasha's amazing.
really cool.
Sasha,
Yeah.
shout out.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah, no, I like to hear that because we like to say that like, cause I think people like we get asked a lot like, oh, is Kasama just a market? And it's like it's not really a market. It's more like we want it to be like a family thing. We want it to be something that feels familiar, something that feels cozy and intimate, and um the Atos event specifically, it felt like your uncle's cookout, like you're going to a family cookout, because it felt like a homecoming, like you would see all these people that you hadn't seen in a long time. Or I met so many people at that event that I have become good friends with to this day. Like there are people who really came there seeking community and seeking friendships because like just full disclosure, like I've lived here in Richmond since 2018, I think, and I just remember the first couple of years were kind of lonely because I just like um I knew a few Asian American friends here, but I wasn't really that close to them. And it kind of, and also I was kind of going through I was on my own healing journey at that point. I was kind of going through a lot. And I just remember it being a little lonely because like I had the privilege of growing up in a large Asian American population and very large Asian community, very large established Filipino community.
so
And I
back then,
didn't realize
were your friends like strictly like Filipino or Asian back then, like before
it was
moving?
kind of a mix. It was halo halo. It was mix.
Yeah.
I guess dominantly Filipino, yeah, but I didn't realize that as an adult, like not being near that community, like it created a sense of ache in my heart, like, and I didn't realize it until until maybe a year or two of living here. And then so I know that there are other people like me who are going through that now, and I'm like, you know what, we need to reach out to these people and provide a place for them to seek out community, because loneliness is very isolating, like, and we do it to ourselves a lot. And
Yeah,
that's one
but
of
like
the
loneliness, yeah, but like you eventually find your people eventually.
Exactly. You eventually find your people. And I wanted to create like a space that was safe and welcoming for people to do that, and our Kasama events keep getting bigger and bigger, and I only ever see smiling faces there. I see new friendships, new partnerships being formed at Kasama events. And that's like the magic of like, I know it sounds really like romanticized, but like that's kind of like the magic of coming to a Kasama event, is that like we're really trying to engineer like this space where people like seek and find community, seek and find each other, and just kind of like fill like a gap or an ache that they didn't realize was there before.
Hmm. Yeah, for some
Yeah.
time I wanted to just like feel a little closer to my culture again, but
Mm.
I don't know. There's a lot when I think about it, sometimes I feel like a nomad because like sometimes I don't know, it's weird. Like I fell in love with the Maori culture in New Zealand, and it got to the point where I'm like, oh man, I should like embrace my culture again too. But like yeah, I don't know, like coming here for me, I just needed to be around creative people in general. Because like my group of
Absolutely.
friends before moving down here it was always mixed too. Like I mean, I was always like one of like the I was like the percentage of our Filipino population. It would be like, but like there was so many like Peruvian, Guatemalan, Italian, Irish. Like it was like a very, very mixed, black. Like it was a very mixed bag. It wasn't like it was always like a small percentage of every different type of culture in our group, in our mixed bag of nuts. But yeah, like I've only had like maybe two or three like Filipinos I would see on a regular. Like I never had like like a tight knit Filipino crew per se. My crew was always like mixed. So it's like
Mhm.
where I feel yeah, because like like again, I wanted to reconnect with my culture, but I've never felt like I don't know, I never like been depressed about it or anything like for some. But I think because I've always been a black sheep too in my family. I'm the youngest out of four. I'm the only one that doesn't speak Tagalog or understand it. My siblings can understand it, but me, like,
Mhm.
I just like know certain words here and there. Just, I only really just grew up in it, but not, enough to like really partake in a lot of stuff. So it was like, like being at the events was nice, just seeing a lot of Filipinos again. But even still, then, like, I still feel like a black sheep because I'm like still very
Mhm.
much far from that. But kind of just circling back, I mean, this is why, Kasama Collective is cool because it really did open up doors to become closer and become, more familiar with other, Filipino, Asian, or whatnot vendors. So it's what you guys got going on is great. Because yeah, you
Thank you.
are co-founder, and I didn't know how much you would want to like talk about it because um your partner couldn't make it, but
Yeah.
we'll plug in because there is an event coming up for the Filipino American Heritage Month,
Yeah.
so we'll
Yeah.
definitely
And
plug in the dates for that. Um,
for sure.
but
I also say like I think that actually I think like when just like from hearing you talk about it, I think it's so common, like I think a lot of people feel that way about their culture. Culture is a very personal experience, and everybody has a different relationship with it. But I think for a lot of one of like the nuanced things of growing up as an Asian American is that like our relationship with that culture and to that culture, it's deeply personal. And a lot of us like don't feel connected to it. And I think that's totally, it is kind of like a product of assimilation. It's a product of a lot of things. um and it's like I just want people to know that it's like that's like you're never alone feeling that way. Like there are and I encourage people to come to Kasama to find people who also feel this way about their culture. You don't have to reconnect with it, but you can also it helps to find other people who feel this way, who like
Mm,
kind of feel like an outcast or a black sheep. Because I mean, I know a lot of people who experience that, and who still to this day feel that way. And you
yeah,
know, they're it's definitely hard, and it's definitely difficult to navigate. But I also think that it's totally valid to feel that way. And um
yeah,
I don't think you have to connect to your culture to identify as Filipino or Chinese. I think like it's one of those things where it's like you come to you're part of the Asian American community. You're part of the Kasama community because you're there, not because you can speak Tagalog or you can speak Korean, but you're part of that community. You're part of the Asian and Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islander community in Richmond. Just because you're here with us and you're being in community with us, you're breaking dumplings with us. you know, yeah.
that's what's up. No, it's
hmm
awesome. It was like intimidating though, seeing a lot of the vendors like I mean I my mind is going blank on all their names, but a lot of
hmm
them are, they have a lot of like very much Filipino themed pieces, and like I only got a couple, so I was like, this is a little intimidating because I feel like I should have more Filipino stuff, but like those like come like pretty like spare in the moments,
Yeah.
but it was
I
still really
also
cool to see.
that's funny because it's like I also feel that way sometimes about like vending markets. Like, well, one of the reasons why Aubrielle and I created this space was because like I was having trouble finding a market that I felt like I fit into, because I was like, well, I don't really sell witchy, like American witchy stuff. I don't really have like, oh, I felt, because like for me, my art explores my Asian American identity. It definitely is. It's focus. It's one of the main themes that I focus on, and part of that is because I was trying to heal myself. I was trying to validate myself as a Asian American woman, as a Filipina American, as a woman of color. And so I just felt like I didn't a lot of my work that I was selling wouldn't have resonated with like customers from like, I thought it wouldn't have resonated with people from Moon Market. And I've had the fortune of doing 2 moon markets this summer, and it was so welcoming. Like that's definitely one of my favorite markets to vend at, because like Lauren's great, and the people who go to those markets are just so curious. They're very curious to learn about an artist's work. And but I didn't know that at the time, and so I was like, I know that other Asian creators and artists are probably feeling similar about like not being able to fit into um a market. And so I mean, I don't think you have to. I think it's kind of dangerous, like, because it's like some artists feel like they need to sell Asian art to like be an artist, like. And I think a lot of writers feel like that. I can't remember
Yeah,
who it was. Probably who was it? I think it was like the writer of To All the Boys I've Loved Before, and had talked about how like you don't want to fall into the trope of like only writing about Asian characters or Asian stories because you're Asian. um I think it's like, I don't necessarily feel that way. I can understand why a lot of other creators feel like that's a dangerous rabbit hole to go into. I do think, if your art should be personal, and it should tell the story that you want to tell. So if you don't want to tell Asian stories, that's fine. You should do like fan art, or like any kind of art that you share.
yeah,
I
like
don't know if that
yeah.
made sense. I was rambling.
No, yeah, damn, bitch. No, I'm kidding. No, like
No.
no, I totally resonate
Drink some
with it.
water.
Like it comes down, yeah, you wanna be able to tell your story. And you know, at the end of the day, the ones that are just like genuinely curious about it and want to hear it, they'll stick around for it. But it's just like you gotta know both ends. It's like, all right, you know, if it doesn't like reciprocate well, it's just because they just, haven't found the way to connect with my art that way.
Yeah,
Like
people
it's
aren't ready.
whether they're ready for it or not, I mean, yeah, and like who knows, maybe they haven't experienced, I don't know, like life like experiences, can be definitely like a factor into why someone is or isn't drawn to your work, you know,
Mhm.
like
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I mean, and that's part of the game when you're like out there trying to sell your artwork.
Oh
Sometimes you
gosh.
make stuff that you think is gonna grab a lot of bites, and then I mean, I'll speak on just on my experience. Like I've done certain stuff thinking like, oh, like, and especially fan art, right? It's like, oh,
Oh gosh.
everyone loves fucking Cowboy Bebop. This should be an easy sell, and I have it for like a couple years, and I'm just like,
Yeah,
shit, all right,
yeah.
I guess not. It's like you never know.
You
But
never know, and I feel that way about like sometimes I'll like publish something on my account and I'm like, oh my God, this is gonna resonate so well with a lot of people. And then the interaction's just not there. And I try to tell myself like to not worry about like likes as a measure of
yeah.
interest and a measure of my value as an artist. But at a market, it's very different because like
Oh,
and
market
I
is
want to
totally different.
yeah, it's different. I want to tell people that listen to your podcast, I'm gonna be like, please school your face when you walk by an artist's table or when you're looking at something or when you walk by a vendor's table, because like you cannot make a face when you're looking at their work because artists will see that and they'll internalize that
Well,
response.
wait, what kind
Like
of face are we talking about?
so like one time I was at like I think it was like one of the RVA makers market at Basic City that I was at. And I think it was like a flea market. And this dude, I don't think he realized what he was doing, which again, that's the other thing is like sometimes you have to like think like some people just don't understand. They don't have like they lack the awareness of what they're doing. But like this one guy was just like he was just walking by, he was like, and then he like made a face, he was like, and then walked away. And I was like,
Uh,
why would you make that face at what like why would you make that face at my work? Like
oh
that
wait,
just like that
was
worried.
it definitely at your like
Yes,
was it in your direction or like it was like at your
it
table?
was 100%. He was looking at the
Uh,
prints that I had on my table
uh,
and like scowled at it, like he disapproved of it. And I'm like, first of all,
huh.
you're at a pride market. Like, if you're gonna disapprove of art here, you're at the wrong market. But
I mean,
also,
yeah,
like,
could be that. Yeah.
yeah, it was if I was in a different mental health state, it would have been very hurtful and harmful to me. But like,
Yeah.
you know, I don't know. It was just like I just want to tell people like please make sure that you're schooling your face because artists, they
Yeah.
are detail oriented. They are they pay attention to body language. They pay attention
Yeah.
to they like mull over like the smallest dumbest shit. Like they make mountains out of molehills, you know?
Yeah. But I think it's
Yeah.
important to understand, like, they don't know the whole picture, and
Yeah.
probably most times they're not even doing it intentionally. I feel like you're interning a lot or internalizing a
Yeah.
lot of emotion into it. Sometimes
Oh
I don't
yeah, and
even
that's
think it's
the thing.
that big of a, thing. Like I've when especially like older women, I've seen some that would make a sort of like just like a what, like when they see my robots
Yeah.
or like my tech utopia stuff, and I get it, it's like it's not supposed to be eye pleasing, but
Yeah.
it resonates with the people that understand it. And some people just don't understand your work or just like whatever and are
Yeah, and yeah, I'm not saying that
self-aware.
it's not a like because I totally agree. Like I think it's like some people don't understand your work and that's fine. The work is not meant for them, right?
Yeah,
Um so like, there are like hypersensitive people out there like me who like
yeah,
sometimes they just can't help but internalize that. Like sometimes they can't help but like feel very intensely about something and like like
yeah.
yes, I told myself like it's okay. He didn't really, it's not for him because it was a white guy who did that.
Uh-oh.
But also like, my
Uh-oh.
brain was like I'm a hypersensitive person by nature. So my
Yeah,
brain
I
like
get it.
was like What's wrong with your art, Roxanne? You know?
No, I mean, like,
Yeah,
it's hard to like tell somebody not to like think or feel this way, but
yeah,
it is true. Like, you gotta catch yourself in those moments and be like, they don't know any better. Like,
you
it
don't
just
know
really
any
comes
better.
down to it. Unless, like, if they reacted that way after discussing your work with you, then that's like, all right, then I would be offended. But if they just like are walking past and look at it, and like I've seen it myself with my table too, like, and they like scrunch their eyebrows, like, what? It's just like, yeah,
Right.
that's what it is. You know, I don't yeah, I don't know. I
I
feel
mean,
differently when I get reactions like that.
yeah, yeah.
But
I
I get,
mean,
if
the
you're
important,
hypersensitive, I can see how that affects you. I just think, that's like part of the exercise that, is like remembering that they just don't know any better.
yeah,
It was
that's
more
right.
more of a personal, like they were actually like in your face reacting like that. Like, that's kind of different. But, I that's just my friendly advice. It's just like, just remember, like, it's not personal. Like, if it's not their taste, it's not their taste, you know.
Yeah, and that's fine. Like it's fine. Again, like I said, it's like it's not for them.
And it's not just
You
because they're
know,
white. No, I'm kidding.
well, some people have like you'd be surprised at
No, I
the
get it.
amount of people
I play
who buy
race
art
card all
before
the time. It's fun.
play
But
devil's advocate.
huh?
Yeah. You play devil's advocate.
Uh, well, I try to nowadays, yeah, but like just to fuck with people, like I'll pull the race card. Like, you got like being in a racial marriage, like I'm like the only brown dude in like the entire, like everyone else who's married is married to a white person. So it's just like
Mhm.
I always play the brown card, and it's fun, like it's become like the family joke that's it's old, but it like we just keep it going anyway because it's just fun now. Um,
Yeah.
but to each their own, I'll say, just live and let.
Yeah, and I mean, I think when it comes to like those markets, it's like the important thing is like you deserve to take up space there, and the
Mhm.
people who want your art will come to you. Like,
Oh
I
yeah,
mean,
exactly.
some of the markets, like, yeah, some of the markets can go a little slow and dry, but the important thing is that like people want to see your art and they will come to you. Like,
Mhm.
and I think that's why I was talking about the moon market is that like I was really, or was it, well, Moon Market is one of them, but also there's a couple markets where I really felt afraid of like taking up space and being like, I don't know if I fit in here. And then I met who it was one of the creators I met. It was bologna sandwich glass. He's like that stained glass maker in town. And he and his fiance they were so lovely. They like reminded me, they were like, well, you don't need to fit into a space, the space needs to fit you. And I was like, holy shit, that's totally right. Like and
Yeah.
it's like one of those things where it's like you are totally invited and encouraged to take up space at any market as a creator, and like your following will find you, like the people who are seeking out, again, community, who are seeking out something that will heal them, they'll find you. It's gonna be hard, but they will find you eventually.
Yeah, it's just like you
Uh,
just gotta market yourself and then just keep being active out there.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
like, because like, how long have you been a vendor?
So this is actually like my first real year doing it. I started
Oh,
vending
okay.
last year, but I only did a couple events, and so I was pretty green last year. And then
Oh, okay.
my yeah
Yeah,
my
I can
my
like
first event,
explain a little bit now. Because
yeah,
like when you're
exactly.
first out there, like, for like a handful of times, yeah, a lot of things like you take on an emotional level. But over
Yeah.
time, you become a little more jaded and you just kind of understand like that's
A
just
shell of an artist, yeah.
not even like
You
a
become a
shell. It's just
husk.
like you know like how people are. You just kind of learn like, you just you just read a lot of people and through interacting and you kind of just
Yeah.
get used to like the vibe. Like, But
Yeah.
yeah, when you're just getting out there, you're surely gonna feel a little more
Um,
vulnerable and like, do I fit in or
that's actually a really good word. Yeah. I think the first like this year, like I felt like even just like publishing your art on the internet, that's such a vulnerable act to do because like you're putting yourself out there on the internet and at the market, you're putting yourself out to all these strangers and you have to talk about it. You feel like you have to justify like your artwork to people.
Mm.
And it can be very intense. And so the first couple of markets I did this year, I was very like I felt very like vulnerable and nervous. And it took a lot of energy out of me because like majority of them were really great like events, like, and I felt so like welcomed and validated. But there were a couple where I was kind of like, they were still good events but like emotionally like very taxing because I don't know reasons. I'm not going to go into it on here, but it was a lot of them were just very emotionally taxing, because it's just the nature of the hustle. You're laying yourself bare. You have to lend yourself to extroversion. It's just kind of crazy.
I
Yeah,
never
I'm
heard that
super
term.
introvert. I am an
I
INFJ,
get it.
which is
Yeah. I've had a lot of introverts on the show. I feel like since COVID, I've become a little more introverted, but only in a sense like
Mhm.
I have to worry about offending people, like
Mm,
I am one of those type of people that believe the world's become real like sensitive these days. So, you know, like being a newcomer here in Virginia, I was like, all right. Not that I felt like I was walking on eggshells, but sometimes I'm like, all right, I gotta like feel the vibe here. I was like, maybe it's like my New Jersey energy or what, or if it's
oh
just,
yeah,
people just have become a little more like, you know, emotionally vulnerable. It's just, yeah. But I don't even know where I was going with that. It's just I realized like I have to be more mindful because I do believe
yeah,
people are more sensitive. And like if that's, like I said before, teach their own, but sometimes you just gotta like be able to step back and try to look at the whole picture. And it's like sometimes it's just not that way, all the time.
yeah. I think it's up to everyone to protect their energies.
Well, it's just I don't know, you just be a good person. But it's just like people, I don't know, I just think social media has definitely like distorted the way people interact. Like
Yeah.
it's the just like witnessing all these people's lives in flashes, from
Hmm.
minutes to flashes, like it distorts what reality is. So I just feel like, at least for me, because we've all like just been all like up on social media during quarantine and stuff, like it made like physical human interaction kind of weird. And like I'm not
Oh
used to that.
yeah. You
I'm used
made
to
it
busting
weirder than it
balls
already
like
was.
up front, and now it's just like, all right, I gotta be careful.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
canceling is people are worried about getting canceled. I'm just like, yeah, it sucks, but I mean, it's unfortunate. Like the times are crazy. I'll just leave it at that. But
Yeah. Yeah, I think it just encourages, there is something to be said about um, people needing to be more mindful and considerate and more intentional, right? Like you just,
yeah,
I think from now on, people need to lead, like they need to live with more intention and they need to say things with more intention now. I think that's okay. Like I appreciate intention, because intention's important. Um, so so be it, I guess. Bahala.
intention is
Bahala
important.
na. For non-Filipinos, bahala na is a phrase that Filipinos are very familiar with because it basically means like, to hell with it, it's your life. Let it be, basically.
Yeah, yeah, just like the Beatles song, "Let It Be."
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
When's the last time you've been in the Philippines?
The last time I was in the Philippines was actually 2000. It's been a long time. 2008.
Oh shit.
That was
Okay.
the last
2009.
there. I
Nice.
met. Yeah. Oh wow. Yeah, my parents went in 2009 as well. I was there. I was my partner, my fiance and I were supposed to go in 2020, but then we know what happened. And then I just kept putting it off. But yeah, the last time I was there was 2008 and it was I was too young to I've our times like being back in the Philippines and Asia, I just always was too young to really appreciate it because I was definitely like I took it for granted. And like I can't wait to experience Asia as an adult, as a person with like a new perspective on life, on like my ancestry, on like birthrights. I really want to experience um Asia and the land of my ancestors as as an adult who can appreciate it now.
Yeah. Oh, you can speak and understand Tagalog?
Hindi. Not fully. Just a little bit. I like
Okay.
grew up speaking Tagalog. But
Were you born here
over
or
the
over
years,
there,
what's
actually?
that?
Were you born here
I
or
was born I was born in Virginia, so I'm a first gen
okay.
American, Filipino American, but I grew up like Tagalog was actually my first language.
Hmm.
But over the years you lose your fluency. So I'm like I have like elementary medium proficiency. I It's one of those things where I can understand it better than I can speak it. So I'm more of like a Taglish speaker, but I feel like if having exposure to it, it's like I can I become fluent with it over time, like the more I immerse myself in it. So like every time I'm in the Philippines, I'm like fluent. I always joke like I'm fluent by the time I have to leave.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think I could hold my own in Manila, in the streets of Manila. I could probably, order food and drinks and
Okay.
carry on a conversation with a stranger.
Nice. See,
In the
I
provinces,
would. I
probably I would not be able to do it in the provinces.
well, yeah, especially the provinces. Yeah, I wouldn't
My
be able to hold
cousin,
my own. I have to have like an
yeah.
entourage with me.
Yeah, an entourage. Yeah, my cousins always joke that like whenever like my cousins who live in the province, they always joke that like whenever they have to talk to me, they get a nosebleed because like over there, like it gives them like the mental gymnastics. It's required to speak a new language. It gives them nosebleeds, and I'm always like, but that's how I feel whenever I have to speak to you in Tagalog.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
it works both ways.
yeah, yeah.
Has your fiance been over there?
No, and that's why we wanted to go in 2020 because I really wanted to take him there. I really wanted to show him the lands where I came from. I
Mm.
wanted to show him like, Manila, because my family, my mom is from Batangas, and my dad is from Quezon City, I think. So they're both from Southern Luzon. But we've definitely, I've never been to like, I don't think I've ever been to the other islands. I've definitely only explored Luzon. So I wanted to show him, parts of like the Philippines that I've been to, and then parts that I long to see, like Palawan is like, I definitely want to go to Palawan. Like, I mean, and unfortunately it is like a tourist destination, but I think I would love to see it.
Mm. Yeah, we took Nicole back in 2009. We were still in
Oh
college.
yeah, what did you think of it?
And it was she had a great time. At one point we did get sick. But I mean overall it was fun. She got to experience all the public forms of transportation. So
Jeepney?
yeah, it was a lot. We were there for 2 weeks and
Oh wow.
yeah.
Where
So
did you go stay?
in Manila. Um
Oh,
and where did we go? Did we go to Boracay? And then somewhere else. But my dad's from Leyte and my mom's from Manila.
oh
Um,
wow.
but
Awesome.
over the first time I went, I was 10 years old, and I remember visiting Leyte. I visited Baguio City. Um,
Mm.
yeah, but it's gonna take a lot for me to go back over there because like my parents are over there now, but
Oh,
it's just
really?
like yeah, mom's like such a long travel and it's not
Oh
really
my gosh. Yeah.
cheap.
Like,
Like
what is it, like 16 hours? 14? And
uh
it's
I
also really
think it's
expensive.
like
That's like,
maybe depending on I guess depending on the flight, it used to be I think it used to be like 18 hours for us back.
yeah.
But I mean this is like traveling from Jersey. I don't know if it's any different.
Yeah. It's pretty similar. I think the longest we've ever done, I think, yeah, 18 hours sounds right. But I remember there was like one time we went and my parents went real cheap on the tickets and it was like a 22-hour thing. It
Yeah.
was pretty brutal. And like now as an adult, I'm like, my blood pressure, I'm like, I don't know if I can handle like I'm like the
Yeah, it's
circulation, like I'm like,
tasking.
oh
We
yeah.
went to we went to New Zealand, and that was definitely the longest trip we ever. Because like that one felt like a whole day. Um,
Hmm.
but it was worth it. But yeah, I'm not really big on long travels like that.
Yeah. It would definitely have to be like you'd spend like maybe you spend a couple days in like Seattle or something. Um, and then you fly over to the Philippines, or you spend a couple days in like San Francisco, San Diego, and then you fly over,
Oh
like,
no, see, I'd rather
because
just get it over with, and like if
oh,
there's
for
a
real.
layover, then there's a layover. But I wouldn't want to like spend a day or a night in the stopovers. Anyway,
Mhm.
how we get lost in the travel?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
S- you how about could you actually describe your creative background and influences for the audience?
Yeah. So, oh my
Sorry, it's
gosh.
almost been
How do I
like an
start?
hour. Now we're talking about your
Yeah,
art.
how do I start? So I guess like I'll just start from the beginning. I grew up like making art. Like I don't come from an artistic family, but my mom um she encouraged me, like my mom and my dad is pretty artistic. Like I picked up music and art from him because he kind of like encouraged me to like play guitar and piano because those are instruments that he played when he was growing up in the Philippines. And he was also like he was an avid singer, like he was in like glee club and men's choir. So I kind of like I my mom always says that I get my artistic and musical side from him. But I started drawing at an early age, and I was very lucky that my parents like encouraged me to explore that. They didn't encourage me to explore it professionally for a long time, but like I think by now they're kind of like, oh well, my daughter's really successful. But yeah, so I ended up actually studying music in college, because I originally thought about like studying animation, but then I was like, I don't know, it's a lot of effort and for just like 3 seconds of animation.
Yeah.
But I made another equally bad decision and studied music. Now I'm just joking. I studied music at James Madison University. So I have a degree in music industry and music performance, and now I work full time in the music industry where I'm an art director for a music merchandising company.
Um,
Um, that's like my daytime job, and then like my hustle is my personal art where I like focus on, like I said, like my identity as an Asian American woman. A lot of my art focuses on like ancestors and healing and reclaiming my heritage, my Filipino heritage, because I think as I mentioned earlier, like there was like a deep loneliness that I didn't realize I was experiencing until until I finally realized what was missing from my life was like my community. Was because I wasn't around people who like we say like you're not around people who look like you, but what that means is like be not by it means being around people who like get it, who like understand what it means to be an Asian American woman in this country, who understand like the nuances of the way you have to walk through life as like a woman of color is like it's very hard to understand as a person of color. That those are all very hard to understand, and it's easier when when you're around people who like get it, because then you don't feel like you have to explain it. And so I realized that that was kind of what was missing. And so like I started making art to like heal myself from that and to reclaim parts that, that I thought were missing from my life, but also as a way to like relearn about my Filipino heritage. Because like the reality of being colonized by Spain for 400 years and then by the US and then by Japan is that like there's generations of history of opportunity for education that were just erased from the people of the Philippines. And that kind of trauma gets inherited. It's That's why like intergenerational trauma is a real thing. And things just get lost along through time. And so learning about so like creating a lot of my art has been a way to like relearn a lot about a lot of stuff that was like taken away from my people, from my ancestors. And because it's like a birthright. Like they're like, I remember for much of the pandemic, like when gyms were closed, for instance, like I had to find a new way to like be active. I was a runner I am a runner, but like I really missed like the activity of being in a gym and like lifting weights or something. So I actually was in like a I'm sorry I'm going on, but like I was in this was just pretty life-changing because I joined like a like a like an Instagram meetup video group, I guess, or like a group chat where we like once a week we met up on video call to practice Kali or Eskrima drills. And for those who are not familiar, Eskrima or Kali is the Filipino martial arts. Basically, it's like the pre-colonial Filipino fighting style of the Philippines. And it actually is it's known as like stick fighting. It's like you wield a stick in both of your hands. But it's the cool thing about it is that like there were a lot of like proponents for stick fighting. Like Bruce Lee was a huge proponent of it, especially in film. And that's why now Kali is like the foundation for fight choreography if it involves like sticks, because it's like or because it's like the thing about Kali is that like it's a foundational form of fighting art.
Yes.
So you don't have to have a stick. You can have an umbrella. You could have a sword, because that's what our ancestors fought with, were swords and spears. And that whole idea of using the stick is that like you're slicing with your weapon instead of like stabbing the way you would with like a great sword, for instance.
Yeah.
But anyways,
my brother
I was
teaches
learning.
Eskrima.
Right, I'm like going all over the place.
No, it's
But
okay. The audience does
learning.
know this. I already know about this because my brother teaches this, but I never got.
Sweet, that's awesome.
Yeah.
It was really cool. I really loved getting into it because like there was something like it really sparked something in me where it was like when I was like doing the exercises and like doing the moves, like it sounds really magical and weird, but I felt like the blood of my ancestors rushed through me. Like I felt like it sounds so weird. I can't explain it,
here.
but I really I know I'm waxing poetic here, but I really felt like my ancestors were like guiding me through the movements. And the girl who was doing it, it's Mayari Moon on Instagram. She's amazing. She's like a professional like Kali instructor, and she's been doing it for years. And like the way she moves is like it's literally like by moonlight she moves like water. But she was like like Sensei noticed me, basically. Like Sensei like definitely was like, oh, Roxanne, did you take martial arts when you were younger, because you move so well? And I was like, for me, like my my simp self was like, oh my god, the instructor praised me. But yeah, like I did take like taekwondo for a little bit, but like I also studied ballet, so I felt like the movements just came naturally to me. But there was more reason for that. It was because like it's the fighting style of my ancestors, so naturally like I felt like connected to it. And that moment, the reason why I brought that up is because like that moment was kind of like what made me realize like, oh, I need to be, what heals me and what makes me feel more like myself is servicing my community, is uplifting parts of myself and parts of my community. Like that was when I realized like what was missing from my life was was like uplifting like the Asian American Pacific Islander and Philippine community. Like I grew up like the way I grew up, like I kind of like I didn't get the power of acts of service. I didn't really get the magic of it until that moment. And like as I mentioned earlier, I grew up in a pretty strong Filipino American community, and like and I know that's a big privilege, but like the community that I grew up in, like there was it was how to describe it? It did a lot for the community. Like they always had like annual picnics and fundraisers and stuff. But I was such a brat that I was kind of like I kind of just like laughed at it. I didn't laugh at it. I just wasn't really into it at the time. And again, I was a teenager. You want to fit in, you know, you just have other priorities, which aren't really priorities because you're a teenager. But like I when I was kind of experiencing that thing with like the Kali drills, I was like experiencing like, oh, this is what they were trying to teach us when we were younger, like the importance of community, the foundations of love that is uplifting your community and servicing the Filipino community. But that was kind of like when I started to shift my focus on to shift my art focus into what it is now, which is you know, amplifying and elevating my community and my ancestry and celebrating Asian American culture, and really taking up space as like an Asian American woman. But that's like kind of like how I came to like focus on it, I guess. It's a big story. I mean, there's so much going on. And at the time that was happening, there was also, of course, like the this is going to get really dark, but there was also like the rise in anti-Asian violence
Yeah.
in response to the COVID pandemic.
Yeah.
And that really affected me like that, because there were times where, you know, I'm lucky that I wasn't the victim of any direct forms of violence, but like, you know, I definitely would be at the store and people would like try to walk around me because they thought I had COVID or something
Uh,
because I'm Asian, you know, and like my parents, because they're, you know, I was worried about my parents because they're senior citizens, and like much of the hate was being directed at senior citizens, which is like all kinds of fucked up.
yeah.
But at the time it was just it was just so hard to take. And then there was the Atlanta shooting in, I think it was like 2021, of elder Asian victims, elderly Asian women who just happened to work at an Asian salon, and they were the victims of like of white rage, basically, of incel rage, really. And it was all these things that were happening to my community that I was like, we deserve to like take up space for people to we deserve to for people to know our names, to know that we're not a monolith, to know that we are, you know, we're well, like hundreds of communities that are not like all the same. There's a rich tapestry of cultures and cuisines and practices. And that was kind of like I was like trying to it was my way of contributing. I was trying to find a way to like contribute to the idea that like Asian Americans belong here, that we deserve to take up space here, and that our cultures are rich and they shouldn't be messed with. And I mean, I was seeing a lot of things. I was seeing a lot of harm being done to us. I was seeing a lot of appropriation.
Yeah,
Um,
that's just what unfortunately what mainstream media does, you know. They throw all the shit at you. People become
yeah,
like very hyper reactive to it and emotionally erratic. You know, it's like, you know, it puts everyone through like a frenzy. So it's unfortunate,
yeah.
yeah, because I mean, yeah, during that time, my brother was like sort of attacked, but like nothing happened. It was like, you know, he ended
No,
up
that's
having a laugh at the end, but like someone tried to swing at him, but he tripped over his foot. Someone was like, you know, he just kind of laughed it off. But the fact that, you know, yeah, because, you know, he was Asian. So, you know, it's like unfortunate that that happened, but, you know, at least he's okay. Um,
yeah.
yeah, it's just, it
So
sucks, man, because like, I don't know. It does suck, and you know I was pretty like vocal about it, at least like in terms of the response for it, because like, the whole thing with George Floyd happening and all that, and then which was crazy, and then like the Asian hate started happening. And I just felt like it didn't get the same response. And then I don't know, like this is where I guess I start having like a disposition because it's like then you start like doing that with like every culture, and it's like, all right, when does it stop? Truth is,
Yeah.
it won't stop. So it's like, I think overall we should just try to be mindful of just our fellow brethren, our neighbor, like
Yeah. Or
because
just
like
be
this,
better
I
people.
hate to say it because like I again like I want to be, I'm I try to reconnect with my culture too by supporting other Filipino artists, like Easy Mill getting signed with Slim. Like that's a big deal for our culture because now like you got somebody who like is like a true student of like hip hop, and he's putting the
Mhm.
Philippines on the map, but I do like I worry about the whole like, have you ever seen the clip of Morgan Freeman, and he's saying something along the lines like, if you want to stop racism, you got to stop talking about it. And like to a certain degree, I kind of agree with that, right? Because it's like if you, as much as like we all want to be represented and included and all that, like there is sort of like a line where it's, you just keep like you almost put like that same amount of energy like someone would to like be like the anti that, if that makes any
Mhm.
sense. It's just like
Yeah.
if we just accept everyone for all the things, just just being a person, a good person, a loving person, like that's like the ultimate dream, right? That's the goal. But everyone wants to be represented, so there's a lot of people that are just very vocal about particular, cultural representation. And I'm
Mhm.
just saying it's like that's just like it's a natural thing for us. Like we all like really, identity is it's a huge thing, like even more so now, right?
Yeah, especially more so now. I'm not sure if I agree with that Morgan Freeman statement because I think it borders onto like the colorblind range of rhetoric. But I do think, it's like because I think that like race is definitely a construct, it's a human construct. It's not really a thing that exists. But because we've made it into a thing, it's something we have to factor in now because it plays a huge role in how people walk through life. And
Yeah,
I
I
feel like
agree.
in a perfect world, I would love if we could all just like exist and like meet people where they're at for who they are, not because of like the color of their skin or their phenotype, right? But I think like the reality is that like humanity, because colonization existed for so long, it created this, or even in ancient times, this systems of oppression have existed. They've established a way to oppress people, and I'm not going to get into all
Yeah,
that, but
I'm just
like,
well, like it happens everywhere, right? Like I mean,
it
it's
happens
happened
everywhere, right?
China,
It's like
Korea,
almost like
Philippines,
humanity.
like it's
Yeah, because
Africa.
that's the thing. If it weren't white people colonizing Asia, Japan colonized Asia, right? Like, I
Yeah.
mean, who would have done that conquest, right? China embarked on a conquest on Vietnam repeatedly, and Vietnam resisted that oppression. And so there's, it's definitely like it's like if oppression was not a factor, like if people did not embark on conquest on each other, I think like if oppression was not like something inherent to humanity, maybe I don't know, is oppression inherent to humanity? I don't know, but it's just hard, man. It's hard because it's like it's a thing that we have to live with, and we need to do better. We need to be
Yeah.
better. We need to
Well,
celebrate each other.
maybe one could argue that like oppression creates strong people. So like like I
True.
believe you need adversity to become like a great thing. Like, like
Sure. Yeah.
without the good, you need, you got to eat shit. Not everything
Right.
is like sunshines and flowers, but you got to eat shit sometimes. And it's like
It's true.
during those like adverse moments, You get to
Yeah.
appreciate more in like the simpler things. But like everything is like so hyper focused. So it's like your attention span on like, it's like being so aware of everything. It becomes like exhausting. It becomes draining. Like I can see
Well,
while people is so like while like depression is going up and like mental illness is going up, and I just think it's like how engaged
also
in the world.
seasonal depression right now.
Yeah,
But I
all
also
like
think,
everything, but like when you have social media, when you're like access to like everything in an instant, like there's so much stimulation, like because I think right
yeah,
back in the day, like during the 90s, it was less stressful times. Like sure, we were younger, but think
yeah,
about like how much more present we were. We were so much more present with our friends. Like a lot of that stuff
true.
didn't really matter to us unless it was like physically affecting us. It's happening in your home, it's happening in your family, you know, but it's just like,
Yes,
but now you're engaged
definitely
on like all, like
a lot of
we're engaged on everything across the world. It's like, ugh, it's just, it's overload, right? And, it's sometimes you just gotta like tend to the part of the garden that you can touch. Just like,
It's true. And I mean, in terms of like to bring it back to art, like there because I know we were talking about like hard stuff and like hard times building us. I feel like in a similar way for art, like failure is so important as an artist. Because it's all about perspective, right? Because it's like sometimes we work on a piece and it completely goes wrong, like it doesn't go the way we planned. It could be as a performance, like, or it could be for a painting. It just like does not go as planned. Like recently, I worked on this sculpture with Sarah Che, who she came up with like a team to work on this sculpture for Fetch a Cure, which is like a charity organization that raises awareness for pet cancer. But we were working on this steel sculpture basically and painting a foo dog on it. And like I had so many failures on that at the beginning. Like it was so hard for me because I'm not, I wasn't, this was my first time painting on metal. I don't enjoy working with oil paints.
mhm.
Um, and I had a lot of misfires, a lot of failures at the beginning. But I mean, like if you keep at it, like if you keep at it and build and practice your skill as an artist, there are so many gains from that are to be had from just like picking yourself up to go back at it again. Like failure is just part of the process. It's not the thing that takes you down, it's the thing that lifts you back up, if that
Right,
makes sense.
exactly. It's failure is education. It's so funny
Mm-hmm.
you're talking about that because I made a post today about it, about practice makes progress. And
Yeah.
you know what, typically we'll talk about it in terms of creating art, but you can apply that to everything and anything in life. You just got to keep doing the thing, whatever that thing is. You just got to do it more to become better at it, you know.
Yes.
Same thing applies with exercise, writing
Yeah.
paper, writing
Yeah.
jokes, filming, figuring out what's like a good angles and like or more like niche angles, like unique angles.
For color.
Music, like it applies to everything, even just regular tasks, like when you're running a farm or even like the samurai's way, like everything they did, all their like little daily like tasks were like masterful because they just would practice it every day. So,
Yeah.
um,
Practice discipline, and I mean, I think it's sometimes like I think one of the pitfalls of social media is giving people the impression that art is easy, especially with like those like 30-second reels where everything is sped up by like five times or whatever. It gives off the impression that like art is simple and easy and that anybody can do it, as long as they have like a tablet or
yeah,
if they, as long as they have anything. Like I think the it distorts the concept of time for art because it makes it seem like art can be done so fast when the
yeah,
reality is like art is slow, it's a process, it takes time. Like
right, not everyone
You're
talks
never,
about that. No one talks about the
yeah,
hardships of create. I mean, it
yeah,
depends like how your thing is like, because like I see both ends of that spectrum in terms of being an artist. Like, and it gives me ideas too, like how to show like the vulnerability of being an artist. But there are
yeah,
tons of like, people that create content where they just the way they edit, it does give it that, you know, illusion that it's like it's quick and easy where it's not. There's a lot of mental and emotional energy that goes towards many pieces of art, if not all of
mhm,
them, but it's like it depends like how that person's portraying it. Like some
yeah.
people, yeah, it sucks, but like, that again, yeah, that's that social media, right? Like you got like that percentage of
That's
people that make content like that, and then you got the other percentage of people that may show like the
yeah,
failures. Because that's the thing, we only just preach about the successes and the wins. I mean,
yeah,
there's like that small percentage of people that will share the losses and the failures and the teachings from those failures. So it's like it depends
yeah.
like how you're filling up your feed, that because
Yeah, it's not that's not to say that like, social media is like bad. I actually love social media as a tool. It's
I
like
love it and I
if
hate
it
it. It's a love and hate
it-
thing.
yeah, it's a love hate thing, but it is such like if you know like there's a way to like use it as a tool to your advantage, but like what it feels like again like if you're curating your that's why curating your feed is so important because it's like you have to like follow artists that like have a process that you resonate with like they are transparent like maybe they share something about what their process is that resonates with you, or maybe it's the fact that they share their losses, that they share the fact that like they didn't do so well at this market, or they share the fact that this painting didn't turn out the way they intended, so they had to start over again, right? I
Yeah.
feel like curating your feed to show you artists and creators that like that resonate with you is going to like help build you up as a better artist, because then you'll be able to retain the information that they're telling you, you'll be able to learn from them, you'll be able to like learn that like your own failures are not necessarily a bad thing, failure again is like something we need in order to learn from it.
Yeah. No, I agree. The only way you can use it and not be affected by it is if somehow were able to afford to have somebody take care of your content for you. Because when you're actually engaging on other people's content, even or maybe like keeping track of your insights and your professional dashboard and all that, then that's how it can like you go through sort of like the ups and downs, like those roller coaster rides. But
Yeah.
but yeah, if you use that as a tool, as in you just post and ghost and don't pay attention to like other people's business,
Hmm.
yeah, like yeah, that's like the successful way to go about it. You're not as like emotionally engaged with everyone's projects, because then you start comparing yourself. You start like, oh, I need to do more, or I need to do this, or I need to do that. It's like you were fine until, you started scrolling a bit, right? It's like so
Um,
like I say it's a love and hate thing because I love that it allows people. I always speak in terms for the podcast, like it's given me opportunities to have people like across the world on here, like my good friend Jerson from Angola. And you know, social media is great because we were able to meet that way. But
yeah.
when it starts like so once it starts fucking up with your psyche, then it's like, all right, it's not. This is
Yeah.
like I get off for a
When
minute.
it starts gaslighting you into thinking you're not good enough or something,
Yeah,
that's
because
when it's like
again,
really
your ego starts like, you start comparing yourself to like other people where like you shouldn't be. It's just like I honestly I correlate things with weight loss because like just because I used to be a fatty too. So like I know the ups and downs and from like dropping a significant amount of weight and like
Mhm.
it's same shit. Like you don't if you're going to the gym, like don't compare yourself to others. Just focus on like your regimen, and try to master each movement that you're doing, and just focus on yourself, because once you start comparing with other people, it starts
Oh,
fucking with your head. But
absolutely, yeah.
I feel like all the values, it's like, again, like everything is like related, like it's like the same core values are in everything. um
Mhm.
and it's just like you gotta take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
you
I
know
mean, nothing comes without pitfall, right? Nothing comes without a downfall.
exactly,
So
right, going back to adversity, like, great things don't come easily. You gotta like go through the shit first. That's what
yeah.
makes it much more rewarding at the end. But damn. Did you
Yeah.
expect the podcast to go this route?
Yeah, actually I have like a tendency to like wax heavily into things I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
What do you do to like to settle down from that? Like, like, do you like what do you do to separate yourself from like that ball of energy? Like,
From like the hard thoughts, the hard from like the you mean separate myself from like the negative thoughts of the negative effects of social media? Is that what you're
social
asking?
media, and just like,
Mm,
just like everything, because like it seems like there's a heavy toll with like the things that you're pursuing, right? You're like, wanting
yeah.
to reconnect with your culture, and like you're referring to a lot of like, during like the colonizing days, and there's like a lot of weight behind your creativity. So I'm wondering, like, what's like the other side of that? you know what do you
Right.
do to
Yeah.
kind of like, what do you do for laughs? Like, do you watch comedy, or like, what do you do
Yeah.
to kind of balance that off?
Yeah, I think balance is like the key word there, right? Like balance is a good word because it's like you can definitely fall victim to like going down rabbit holes of like certain of anything, right? But I think striking a balance between like going like scrolling on your phone or working on an art and then going on your feed again, or just being on social media in general, I think balances out like you're not on there for more than like 20 minutes at a time. You're not on there past like a certain hour. You go outside and touch grass, you go get some sunlight, you go get some vitamin D or whatever. um for me, like I definitely try not to be on my phone for too long if I feel like it's affecting my mental health. So I try not to be on my phone like after 11 o'clock at night. And again, I say that like loosely. I fail at that. Again, failure is important. There are a lot of nights where I'm on my phone until like 1:30 in the morning.
Shit, what's your
But
sleep
again, I'm
schedule like?
I try to be I'm usually I try to be ready for bed by like 10:30 or 11. Like I have an alarm on my phone that's like 10:30, get ready for bed. And but I try to be I try not to go to sleep past 1:30, but some nights I am up until like 2 or 3. But
What time do you get up?
I like to be what's that?
What time do you wake up?
I like to wake up around 6:30 or 7.
Oh, Jesus.
That's just kind of like yeah,
You
the
need
latest
sleep,
for me is
homie.
the latest is like 7:30 or 8. No, the latest for me is like 8:30. But it's just because like I like for me, like one of the things that helps me is like getting up early. And this is just personal. This is just what helps me. It's definitely different for everybody. I like to get up early to have like at least 2 to 4 hours to myself. Um, and that's kind of like when I'll just like sometimes I'll just lay in bed and look at the ceiling for like 20 minutes on a day that I think, on a morning where I think I'm doing enough, like I'll wake up, I'll like make myself a cup of tea, I'll water my plants. Um, my ambitious days are when I do yoga for like the first hour that I'm awake because it's a really good way for me to meditate and dedicate my first waking hours to myself. And it's a good way for me to tell myself that I'm important and that I love myself because I'm dedicating my first waking hours to myself instead of like I used to just like, because I work from home, I used to just roll out of bed and go straight to my desk to work on something. And like that sucks because I'm spending my first minutes awake working for the man, like instead of telling myself that I'm worthy of spending time on.
Yeah.
So that's one of my ways to like get away from that and separate myself from that. I also do a lot of things. I also like
So
extra. I run.
how about like before going to bed, try not being on your phone for like an hour?
Yeah, that a lot of some of my friends do that too. I wish I could do that.
But why
I
why
really
can't
wish I could
you?
do that.
But why
What's
can't you?
that?
Why can't you?
I'm I think I don't have an unhealthy relationship with social media. I'm not like addicted to it, but I definitely love it.
That's like when a drunk
Love,
is like, I'm not an alcoholic, but yeah,
yeah. I'm
I'm
not
not a
addicted to
stoner,
alcohol,
but I smoke every day.
yeah. Yeah, I just love looking at like, I'll like go on TikTok and look at like edits from other users about like my favorite show right now, which is like happens to be Good Omens, right? Like I love looking at fan edits of that, or I love looking at fan art on Tumblr, or Twitter even because it's very inspiring. I
Mm.
think I have a pretty healthy relationship with TikTok. Um, I personally
Clearly you do.
do.
You
But
know.
it sounds like I feel like it's coming off as I don't. It's giving unhealthy, right?
Mm.
I don't
Denial is just a
know.
river, right?
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
No, I
I think
I
right
get it.
now I've found a good balance.
If
I've found a good balance of what works
not
for me because
only,
I used
but
to
well, the one thing I'm gonna actually say is that not only is balance important, but good sleep is important. You need to understand
so
that, like, to understand how your body feels with, let's say 7 significant hours of sleep as opposed to, 4 hours of decent sleep. Like
yeah,
it's like the difference of how you feel is so different. It's like it's
so different,
crazy.
so
Because
different.
do you
Yeah.
have do you like do you have like a Fitbit or an Apple Watch or any type of tracker?
Yeah, I have an Apple Watch again because I'm a runner and I'm
Or
trying to get back into weightlifting.
do you track
But
your
I mean,
sleep?
I don't. I'm pretty, it sounds like I know I feel like I didn't give myself a good reputation on sleep. I usually sleep by like 11:30. Like because like especially during the work week. It's on the weekends when I'm like up at 1 or 1:30 in the morning. But
Oof.
yeah, I really should get into the sleep tracking because it is like, it is what you pay for, right? It's like part of the feature
Well,
that you
not
pay
even
for.
that, but like when you learn like how your body is when it adapts to like good quality sleep, like sometimes you might
Mhm.
think like it's just good to know like if what you think is good is actually good because then you learn like, oh
Yeah.
shit. Like I know, like for instance, because I have a Fitbit, I know that if I have 5 hours of good sleep, like I got the green light, it says good, then I know I can work out as hard as like as I can,
Oh,
as opposed to having, let's say, 7 hours of like fair, yellow light, like fair sleep. Like that's like almost the equivalent to having 5 really good sleep. Because then you're checking your
huh.
REM cycle, you're checking your deep cycle, the accumulated minutes of awake time. Like when you see all that shit, also like it show, well, at least with mine, it'll show you sort of like how your breathing, your oxygen intake is like. So like the higher the
Wow.
spikes, the more you like know you're like you're probably like snoring or something. But
Oh
like
my
when you
gosh.
have that information in front of you, it's like it just helps you like gauge how to manage the rest of your energy for the rest of the day. So like when you say like on like really good days you get your yoga in before work, like I always advocate
Mhm.
for getting a little exercise before pursuing the rest of your day. Like if you can fit 10 minutes, 20 minutes,
Yeah,
that's
even if it's
great.
just
Like
doing arm circles.
what's
Yeah.
that?
Even if it's just doing like even if it's just like doing arm circles, like any kind of movement like is so like
Yeah,
crucial to like getting a
gotta
good
get your
start of
heart
your
rate
day.
up, you
Because
know?
otherwise, Yeah, heart rate out. Otherwise, you're gonna like bend over wrong, and you'll be out of commission for like days.
When I used to work like a desk job, like I would have like 3 minute workouts throughout the day. I would do like, it'd be like a minute of crunches and then a minute of squats or like just all like foundational stuff. And like you don't have to
What do they
break a
call?
heavy sweat, but you're getting a
What do they call
workout in.
those? Calisthenics? Is that what they're called? Calisthenics or something like
Yeah,
that?
just body weight workouts. It's
That's
just
like a big thing in Asia, actually. Like they have like workout time, like for every hour, like they'll have like a set, like everybody does activity. But yeah, it's definitely that's definitely so important. Like movement is
yeah,
so
just gotta
important.
keep
Like,
moving. Then
yeah.
and then like of course like everything adds up, right? Because like you
Yeah.
eat cleaner, you get some exercise in, like
Mhm.
you start finding yourself like I'm like crawl like on a good day I'm passing out around 8. Sometimes like depending how high I get too, like then the munchies and then the itis kicks in. So like there's
Yeah.
factors into that. But yeah, like 8, 9 o'clock, we're crawling into bed and then I'm up at
How do you wake up?
5 a.m., 4 or sometimes
Mm,
4:30.
yeah.
But
Oh wow.
I'm
Yeah,
an
that
early
makes sense.
bird. I'm an early bird and I'm a light sleeper too. So,
Mhm.
like if my wife gets up to go to the bathroom and I wake up from it, then like a bunch of random shit's going on in my head and I'm just tossing
Yeah.
and turning until my alarm goes off. But
Yeah, there's something about getting older where you just become a light sleeper. It's because I used to be a
I
heavy
don't
sleeper,
know.
like in my
My wife
20s,
is
my early
not a
20s.
light sleeper and she's getting
Oh,
old.
really?
No,
Oh.
she's like a dead.
Dang, you your wife. Yeah. No, I used to be a very heavy sleeper. Like when I was in my 20s, I had some bad sleeping habits. Like I would sleep in until like 11. But I was, I was in college in my 20s. On
Yeah.
the weekends, I would sleep in until
Oh my
11.
God.
But now
Yeah.
I could sleep. I used to sleep through so much. Like I used to sleep through like house parties in my own house. And now I will wake. I'm the same. If Grisha gets up to go to the bathroom, I'll wake up. Yeah, it's just, or if my cats like are just like running down the hallway, that just wakes me up.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
pretty good at falling back.
I struggle going back to sleep. It's
Dang.
bad. But again, like I'm still getting good sleep, but like that was like my whole point is like getting good sleep. Even like I said, like if you're just getting 5 or 6 good sleep according to your device, like that, if that's all that your body needs, like people aren't as in tune with their body as I think we should be nowadays because we know like all the fucked up shit with our food and whatnot and all the, you know,
But
industry.
I feel like when you move and when you sleep, when you commit your body to rest and movement, you treat your body better. Like you treat yourself better. Like you
You
have
treat
more
yourself
respect for
better
yourself.
and you make better decisions. Like it's just,
Yeah.
you're more like the cognition is increased. You're releasing good chemicals. Like it's all the things. They all add up, but like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
good
because
to have that.
you realize that you're worthy of being taken care of. You have a better sense of self-worth because you find like you recognize yourself as like worth respecting and worth taking care of.
Well, not even just like it's your life. Like, why not take care of yourself for the one life you
Yeah.
have? It's like that's how you
No.
show respect and self-love. You fucking take care of
No.
yourself, right? Like, but it's just like for a lot of people that's like over their head. I keep seeing
Yeah.
these ads for like the new vaccines and you know, I'm just like, what have you guys learned just like from COVID days? Like, have you not been working on your immune system since getting
Yeah.
your first, second, third, or fourth jab? Like, it's just like I'm unvaccinated, so like, I just made sure I took care of myself. I've gotten sick a couple of times, but that was just like it was like no big deal. They were just like the variants at that point. But like it's
Mhm.
just like how many times we gotta remind people to like take care of themselves, eat cleaner,
Yeah.
take
Yeah.
multivitamins. Like
The
just
whole
do the
COVID
thing.
response, the whole COVID response definitely just makes me feel like there's no hope for like it's hard to have hope for humanity because people don't follow the rules. It's like people don't it's working on a big ass group project and people don't do the project with you. Like it's really frustrating.
Well,
But
it's like doing the
yeah,
project, but then just like also taking the initiative again, just to like, all right, like I have to take the vaccine because of my job. I get it. But it's like, all right, after that, just like change like if like this is like for the people that needed it, right? It's like,
Mhm.
yeah, now take it upon yourself to make some personal changes to your day-to-day life so you live a healthier life, a healthier, longer life. Like that should
Yeah,
always be the priority,
yeah.
with like especially like, making, risky decisions like that. Um,
That's the thing. The risk is like, are you willing to risk like yourself or others for, for one little unhealthy decision or something? I don't know. It's just it's definitely it's hard, man, because it's just like if people don't want to wear a piece of cloth on their face for like a major pandemic for a global pandemic, then like what else?
are you like a hard face mask supporter?
I am. I'm
Oh,
no, I'm
it's
not
okay.
sorry. I like
There's nothing to
cautious.
be sorry about. It's just like it's but like I just think nowadays it's like this is my argument. I've been vocal about it before. I don't understand why people still need to feel like they need to wear it outside if they're by themselves.
Outside,
Like
yeah. Mhm.
that doesn't make sense to me. And when I see people wearing their mask in their car when they're by themselves, that also doesn't
Yeah.
make sense to
Mhm.
me. And it's just like again,
Yeah.
like I get it if you're like legitimately sick and you don't want to spread it, so you take it upon yourself to wear the mask. I get that. I'm just saying
Mhm.
I just say like in general, like the people that wear masks outside, even if you are like a little sick, a little under the weather, but you're outside and no one's around you, who fuck like whatever, bro. Just make sure you get home and you're
Yeah.
not like in contact with anybody. Like it's just I feel like it's common logic and like when
Yeah. Well,
we were
it's been
at
proven
Print Fest.
that we don't need to wear them when we're outside
What's that?
because like the air just it's been proven that we don't need to wear them outside. So I feel like
I
that's just
yeah.
like so unnecessary.
Yeah, but you
Yeah.
still see people out there and it's just like, huh. So
Yeah.
I think it is like I would abide by it if it's like mandatory at a district, like at somewhere like a store or somewhat whatever. Like
Indoors,
if it's
indoors is
inquired,
when
like
I'm yeah. Indoors is when I'm strict about it. Especially like if I've been sick or if I know I'm going into like a pharmacy or a hospital, if I know I'm going into a space that transmission could easily happen of not just COVID, but any illness, I will definitely wear a mask.
but
Don't wear them outside. Like
see,
outside,
like
it's just like
you can get sick
so
from like
hard to
anything. That's where
was
I'm like
that?
that this is where I I feel differently is because like I'll make sure like my health is reliant to be able to not have to worry. I mean, if you're working in a medical facility and like you're required to have like I get that you're around sick people, but I think like
Yeah.
if you're just going out in public, I don't like I again it's very situational, right? It's very
Mhm.
situational. I'll say that, but when I put myself in the position of like, all right, if I gotta go somewhere, like I'll abide by the rules because I want to be respectful, but
Yeah.
if it's a places that's not requiring masks, like I'm not gonna feel bad not having a mask when there's other people that wear masks. Like that's on them.
Yeah.
Like I trust my
Yeah.
health to like not spread anything because I'm not feeling ill. But my only stance is like outdoor masks is like, what are you doing? That's why
Yeah.
I'm
I
like,
think
ugh.
think yeah, to whatever to each their own based on their own comfort level.
No,
I
if you're
think,
wearing a mask outside, there's something wrong with you. No,
oh no, for outside, yeah, you're just
I'm
being
just fucking.
silly. But inside, there's so many other things to consider, like able-bodied people versus like people with disabilities or
Yeah.
people who are immunocompromised. I think whatever you're most comfortable with, basically, as long as you're not masking outside or in your car.
Yeah, what are you doing, people? No,
What are you doing,
it
man?
just,
Come
it just,
on.
well, it just like I'm nosy and I'm a curious person as well. So I'm just like, I just like to get into like the psyche of that. It's like, all right, what in your head
What's
makes,
going on in your brain?
yeah,
Yeah. What's the thought process?
yeah. My goodness. Um, how do you feel about your first podcast, Roxanne?
I forgot, we were just talking so naturally about things that I kind of forgot that not that I forgot that we were recording, but it just didn't, I felt comfortable. I felt safe and comfortable.
Good.
So
Awesome. Well,
I like the nerves.
that's the experience. And
Woo!
for, I would think generally for all my guests, it's just like, yeah, man, like we just, I like to say shoot the shit, right? Because that's really what it is. Like we just talk about. It could be like real topics, or it can be lighthearted, silly, dumb topics. So, like it, like that. I'm open to going either direction. I really didn't. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I feel like podcasting is the the more natural form of social media because you're actually conversating with somebody, and
Yeah.
you learn more than just through comments and stuff like that. So
The comments are like the wild west for a lot of people because people are so emboldened behind a keyboard. So
yeah,
yeah,
and it's just like
I agree.
context is everything too, right? Like
Yeah.
you can read some, like if you're trying to be sarcastic, like I don't know, whatever sarcastic jokes we have made throughout this recording, like if that, just reading that on paper is like, it looks very, it can look
Yeah.
offensive, right? Like it's just, so when just doing things naturally like this is it's the most authentic, and it
Yeah, I definitely
really
think
makes it
it's
easier.
way more, yeah, it's way more organic than like, I love my DMs, but it's like it's so much harder to connect with people over text sometimes in some situations, right? And I feel like this felt so natural, for us to just talk. Like I really felt like we weren't even like recording anything. Like it just like the idea that this was for a podcast just like left my brain because we're talking so naturally about things.
Yeah, I mean, the goal is to hopefully one day have the space where I can have guests over at my studio. So when that starts happening, you'll probably start getting the feel, because then there'll be iPad cameras set up and whatnot.
Yeah,
But I mean,
right.
I think just in general, like when you're in a room to like, well, we're Zoom, but even like when you're in a room together with the person, that too, like it's just you're able to read off energies better, and
Yeah.
you know, um, fortunately, Zoom is still feels almost as natural, right? But
I think so. I think I'm
when
just so used to it by now. We're just so
yeah, but
used to these
you never know how things can go, right? Like,
yeah, right.
so it's I've had like I mean, generally, like all my podcasts have gone well, but there have been some where it's like, it could have went better or whatever. But still, like you don't know until you try it. So
Exactly. And again, that can be applied with art or music
yeah,
and
exactly.
any
The way you
practice.
communicate.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
said.
Things could always go better or different.
Yeah. I mean, I often find learning some things about myself when I'm talking to other people, and I'm like,
Oh,
oh,
for real.
huh, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
No, I feel that too. Yeah. Sometimes I'm like, oh, that is how I feel about this.
Yeah. Well, before we wrap this up, you want to mention, you want to talk a little bit about the Filipino American Heritage Month celebration?
Yeah, so Kasama Collective has a couple events this month, and so actually two big events this month. So October 25th, which is a Wednesday night, we are doing like a low-key karaoke hangout at Castleberg Brewing. And it's just again, it's like it's not like a big event. We're just gonna, hang out and sing karaoke or do karaoke, and it's gonna be hosted by our friend Viba. She's the regular karaoke host there, so she will be in good hands there. And then so again, that's October 28th, Wednesday night, from 3 it'll be announced on our Instagram. I can't quite recall the
It's
time.
okay. It's on the
Sorry.
25th.
But yes, the 25th, which is a Wednesday night. I think it's from like 6 to 9 or 7 till 9. But yes, and so our next big event will be October 28th, Saturday at Mainline Brewing from 12 to 5 p.m. And this event is in partnership with the Filipino American Association of Central Virginia in celebration of Filipino American History Month. And this is just a bit, it's going to be a big festival celebration. We'll have vendors, we'll have food trucks and dessert trucks, vendors of all kinds of different merchandise. They'll be selling art, clothing, folk art, all kinds of different stuff. And we will be rolling out vendor highlights for each of our vendors later this week, or later this month, starting tomorrow and Friday. So just keep an eye out for that, and follow us on our socials. This event is just going to be a big celebration of Filipino American history and culture, and we will have cultural performances, including Tininkling, and also performances from Richmond Filipino folk class, folk dancers. And we will also have some live music with a DJ, and of course the delicious Filipino food, which our people are known for. So definitely check it out. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn. We also have a Threads account, but Facebook and Instagram are definitely the most that's where you'll get the most accurate and up-to-date information from us. But come out, it'll be a cookout, it'll be super fun, and it'll be like a homecoming and you're coming to a family cookout.
There you go. Yeah. And your boy's gonna be there too.
What?
I
Oh,
said-
yeah, yeah, yeah. Kuya G will be vending. Yeah, let's go.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
and I'll be vending too. I'll be selling my art as well. So
yeah, yeah. We gotta support our locals for sure.
yeah,
Um,
for sure.
yeah, and your 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 Instagram handle is Rabbit on the Moon Draws.
Yes, with a rabbit
Rabbit
with two eyes.
two eyes.
Yeah.
Why is it with two eyes?
Yeah,
I was
rabbit. Oh, man, it's not, it's so stupid. So Rabbit on the Moon is what it's based on. So my entire life is based off of, it's like influenced by Sailor Moon, because that was like the biggest anime that
oh yeah.
influenced me when I was growing up. So Sailor Moon, the character's name is Tsukino Usagi, which in Japanese translates to Rabbit on the Moon, which is kind of like a big like Asian mythology about like a rabbit on the moon pounding rice cake, right? And so I really loved Sailor Moon. I still love Sailor Moon. It's like the influence behind everything I do. Like the way I choose to emit light instead of darkness is part of it is because I loved the character of Sailor Moon so much. She was such a positive influence for me. She influenced how I celebrate myself, how I celebrate women, how I celebrate my friends and family and loved ones, and how like we were talking earlier, we were talking about how there's like a lot of heaviness and weight to the things that I think about. And I used to be, pretty like depressed. I still get pretty depressed about it, but like I choose to emit light, to be a light for people instead of adding to the darkness and heaviness, because I'm realizing that there are people out there who also feel these things, and like I feel responsible to like for like lifting them up and being a light in that
Mhm.
regard. But long story long, Rabbit on the Moon, I chose that as my handle for my personal account, and then I wanted to do the same thing for my art account. But Rabbit on the Moon, spelled normally, was already taken. So I was
Just had
like,
to throw a little something in there.
yeah, the thing is, like, that account isn't even active. So Rabbit on the Moon on Instagram, whoever you are, get rid of it so I can take it back. So I can reclaim it, because I'm doing things with this account. Come on. Yeah. So
Oh, geez. Well, I'll be sure to have all the links provided so people can check out your art. And
thank you.
yeah, it's beautiful that's the way you're channeling your energy, is even through all the negative, experiences and just the stuff you're dealing with, you still choose the brighter path. You choose a positive way to express yourself, and that's beautiful. So good on you.
Thank you.
Good on you for that.
Thank you. Thank you.
And for
Appreciate that.
everyone,
Thanks, Priya.
of course, you're very welcome. And for everyone that's tuning in, thank you for joining us. I hope you enjoyed our conversations. And for local audiences, like if you're actually within the RVA area, be sure on the lookout. Mark those dates, the 25th and the 28th, right? 28th.
That's
Yeah,
right.
mark your calendars, grab your crew, come through, celebrate with us. And on that, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay driven. And we shall see you on the next one. Peace out, everybody.